Good afternoon, friends. My name is Mike. I'm the moderator for this topic. I'm introducing Maggie Bender. Maggie has had the privilege of practicing product management for the past 5 years, working both in wealth management and in retail. Her specialties are product launches, digital transformation, and solving sticky problems. Maggie is going to be using a workshop format, so she is going to put you to work. You will see a worksheet in the chat box, and you'll be able to pop open a Word document to which Maggie will be referring. This is interactive. You may put things in the chat or Q&A, and I will be watching that, and I'll let Maggie know when there's something that you all would like addressed. So without further ado, I have the pleasure of introducing Maggie Bender. Maggie, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thanks, Mike. Thanks for the introduction. So Maggie Bender, and I'm going to talk to you guys today about writing awesome value propositions. So before we get there, let's talk a little bit about what are value propositions and why do you care? So value propositions, the definition I use, are just simply statements that are clear, concise, and they help your audience understand how your product benefits them. Now, the importance here is there's not just a focus on features. It's really about that benefit. And what we'll be talking to you guys today, and the idea that I'm going to be pushing for you guys today, is that this isn't just for startups. This is for any product that you might have. Legacy, SaaS products, anything, right? And then the why of doing value propositions are that value propositions help at core to shorten the communication loop. And what I mean by that is that so much of our time as product managers, we spend aligning stakeholders and trying to influence people without direct authority, right? So if we can help to shorten that communication loop, we can really help to move to that next step at a quicker pace. And now we'll have here, just going to go over the goals and agenda here. So like Mike said, I'm going to put you to work because I want you guys to leave with a written value proposition of your own for your own product. So we have a worksheet, Word doc within the chat that we shared. We also can share a Google Doc link if you prefer to do that, and make a copy, because you can always do file, make a copy, as 2 different ways that you can access the worksheet. And then the last goal here is that you're going to have a toolkit for later. You can come back to this. So I'm going to just pause a quick second. And Mike, is there anything that logistically that I missed?
I don't think so. I think we're good.
Okay, perfect. So just really quickly, I'm going to talk a little bit about value propositions and kind of the narrowing of where I'm looking at value propositions. And then we're going to go through a few different exercises to help us generate a little bit of content before we actually get into those templates. So those are setting the stage and then, of course, just generating some content. So we'll play with the templates. And then depending on how we're doing with time, I would like you guys, the brave ones out there, to feel free to go ahead and we'll be sharing these within the chat message, and we'll go from there. All right, so value propositions, when you go out and you search about them online, there are a million different philosophies that come with value proposition design, and they're all tied to their bigger systems. What we'll be kind of doing today, lightly, is we're going to start out with the idea of value proposition design. And I pulled this from Alex Osterwilder's book, and he's one of the masterminds behind strategizer.com. And then the value proposition then, of course, is going to feed into the business model canvas. So it's a part of a larger system. So we will be using the customer profile, and that's going to help us generate some content. And then we'll move to the value propositions or templates, as we talked about earlier. I have a little blurb here at the end, and it's kind of tongue-in-cheek, but also to expose you guys to some different sources as well. So don't confuse strategizer and customer jobs with strategen and jobs to be done and outcome-driven innovation. Also, there's a business model canvas, which is from Strategizer. There's also a lean business canvas. So there's a few different nuances on some of these things, but hopefully what we'll do today will give you enough tools to be able to do whatever you want to do with it. So we're going to start here, and we're going to set the stage. I think this is important because when I first tried to start writing these, I realized that if I didn't have a clear idea of who I was talking to, I ended up kind of conflating terms and getting overly wordy. So I realized that taking a time out to look at, am I talking to somebody internal? Like, am I trying to talk to a leader about what my product does? Or a business stakeholder? Or am I trying to talk to somebody here that we're on this session and tell you a little bit more about my product? Or finally, which value propositions typically end up in this category is, are we talking to somebody external? Like, think selling and marketing, or maybe a persona who is buying your product versus somebody who is actually using the product. There's a few different categories of audience that you can focus in on. The one note I'll make about internal is that it might seem kind of silly that you might have to do some product evangelization inside your organization, but think about it this way. New bosses happen all the time, and mergers happen, acquisitions happen, all of these things. And you would never want to be in a place with your product where your dev budget gets reduced because the leadership doesn't understand what your product does. So my ask for this very first step is for you within the worksheet to go ahead and bold or highlight which audience group that you want to target. Right? And then the next step here is about levels. These are the levels that I'm going to put forward. If because of your product and where you are right now, if there's a different category or a different level that you think is important, go ahead and use that one. Don't get sucked into my system. So what I mean here from the feature, product, and portfolio level, I'll give you the example of my very first product that I owned. I had a product that had 6 separate reports and 8 calculators. And when I first tried this out, I was trying to do it at the product level. And again, it really wasn't working very well. So I went back and I looked at each one of the reports, each one of the calculators, and I did a quick statement about each one of those, and then took a step back, analyzed them, and I had a much easier time doing it one at the product level. Likewise, if you are director level or manage many different products and you have a portfolio, you might want to select the portfolio level. So to give you the concrete example here, my product was one of the reports helped mutual or financial advisors sell mutual funds. All of the reports together helped financial advisors convince people of the importance of investing. And this product then sat with a larger group of products that was all designed around financial advisors, giving them the tools, all the tools that they would need to either build their book of business or strengthen their book of business. So that's kind of how those relate. So now I'm going to ask you to select a level that you think is important and relevant to you. Like I said, if you have, maybe you have an API product, maybe there's something else in there that's important for you. But either way, leaving a slide, you're going to know that if you're going to talk to somebody internal and at the portfolio level, maybe external at the product level, and of course, your toolkit going forward is you can come in and mix and match. All right, so this next section here, we're just gonna do some generating of content. And by this, once we get into the template, it will make a little bit more sense why we're doing this. But once we get there, we can kind of use these things to kind of quote unquote fill in the blank. And again, this is coming from the Strategizer website. I have here a link here for Strategizer to their Canvas. It's a much larger system than what we'll cover today. Feel free to go back there and kind of play around with it a little bit more. So within Strategizer's concept, they have 3 things that build out a customer profile: customer jobs, gains, and pains. So on your worksheet, if you go over there, we're going to start. I'm going to talk a little bit about customer jobs and then maybe give you guys about 30 seconds or so to write down some customer jobs. If you finish up early, go ahead and feel free to throw them in the chat, what type of customer jobs that your product does. And by adding it into the chat, you're going to go ahead and add value to your peers here on whoever's listening out here to help idea generate. So customer jobs, feel free to go ahead and start writing. Customer jobs can be not just functional jobs, but also social jobs and emotional jobs. So the functional job might be creating a report. It might be submitting a payment, right? The social job might be looking like an expert to your peer, whereas the emotional job is something maybe connected to credibility or looking like they are able to crunch this huge amount of information, right? So with that little kind of intro, I'm gonna go ahead and give you guys about 30 seconds to jot things down, and then go ahead and add a few into the chat. Mike, feel free in about 15 seconds or so to call out a few of the customer jobs that people are coming across with. Okay, and are we getting any customer jobs out there? All right, just a few more seconds to think about, selling mutual funds or making a recommendation.
Sorry, I was on mute.
No worries.
One of our participants said their job is to help their customers brew coffee in the morning.
Okay.
Help their customers transport items that don't fit in a truck.
Awesome.
Mine is help children make their parents proud.
Nice. Okay. All right. So then similarly, we'll kind of do another format like that about gains. Now, the Strategizer infrastructure recommends that we think about gains in a few different categories, right? So there's required gains, like if your product doesn't allow you to submit a payment and you have a payments app, then you're out of the water, right? And then you have things that are expected. So they expect a confirmation email afterwards. And then you have things that are desired. It would be nice to maybe, I don't know, what would be desired for payment. Probably a successful, or like a follow-up after the successful message. And then you might have something that's unexpected. And that unexpected will play in later because that's going to be some value, right? think about positive outcomes that people want from your product, results, emotions, okay? And I'm gonna go ahead and we'll give ourselves another 30 seconds or so. And Mike, as you see things kind of starting through, go ahead and you can call them out. All right, are we getting any gains across?
We had one from the previous exercise that said, we want people to feel comfortable in bright rooms without glare.
Nice. Okay, thank you. And now the final one is pains. And now your general tendency might be to just start taking an opposite of gains. And that might be a good strategy to start out with. Once you're looking at this bigger concept of customer profile, you'll be able to, you end up doing a ranking exercise, right? Are you preventing more pain or adding more gain? But either way, now we're going to start looking and thinking about the pains that you are preventing, right? Any undesirable outcomes, annoyances, children out there that their parents aren't proud of them, whatever. And then you can even kind of ideate a little bit about before, during, and after the customer job that you wrote in the first one. And we'll go ahead and give another 30 seconds or so and kind of the same format.
Let me see if we can go through this one. This is a fun one. What I'm seeing is that people are mixing or including all three aspects in single sentences. So they can be parsed apart into this structure. So the comments that are coming in are relevant. And so here's one here. Move window shades to change brightness brought in from the outside. Expected is that this is a distraction-free solution, and they want it to be automatic so it doesn't require user intervention. So what was that? The job is to manage the light in a room. The gain is a comfortable room, and the pain is distraction.
Yeah. Yep. And that's where we're going to, is how we're going to combine this. And I would say, right now we're in a kind of a time crunch, pushing you to do these, but I would encourage you, as you're going through, to try to separate them out as much as possible, because the more building blocks that you have in all of these little pieces, you can put them together in all sorts of different ways.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I'm also very curious about this light in this room. So when we come through to the templates, I'll be interested to see how that all comes together.
I can focus in on another one here, the one that says transport items that don't fit in my truck. It's all there. Transport items, move items. Transport items is a job. Items relocated is the gain. The pain is that they don't fit in the truck. It's all there in one sentence.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And yes, and there's probably some more interesting pains there too to unpack. So when you're going through this exercise, be specific. You're going to want to get like 10 to 20 things in each one of these categories, right? Quantify when possible, so that when you do a ranking exercise, that you might be able to determine which one is more important than another. All right, so here we go. I have a feeling that we're all going to be fantastic at this, because I can see that you guys are already starting to do this. So templates, I have 3. So once I'm gonna kind of talk through the 3 of them, give you a few examples. And then what I'm gonna do is we're gonna try to give you a few minutes, and I'm gonna do my best to be quiet and not fidget too much so you guys can focus in on writing your own value proposition statements. And then of course we'll see if we can share a few at the end here. All right. So just as a preface, this is called out in at the end of your worksheet as well. This is the very first website that I started pulling from. He's got all sorts of great examples. It was published in 2011. You know, a lot of people have referenced this. There's been people that have pulled it apart in different ways. So I'm just also pulling it apart in a different way and trying to guide you guys through. So here we go. The first one is simple. So Steve Blank's XYZ model. We help X do Y doing Z. So on this one, as you can see on your worksheet, it kind of breaks it out. The thing that always gets me on this is you don't actually say doing Z. Doing Z is just a stand-in for any action verb plus thing that you're doing, right? So a few examples that I had, most of these I made up, and most of them are probably a little cheeky, just to kind of get the idea across. Well, this first one isn't, it's very plain. And I pulled this from another website. So we help local customers feel good and do good by filling them up with artisanal coffee and in a community focused space. Okay, so that's the first one there. It's obviously a lot longer than this, but you can see how you can start building it out for your product. This was one of mine. We help dog owners to know where they can take their dogs before they leave the house. I have an app called Bring Fido that I like to use, so we can figure out which restaurants to go to. All right. This one, Jeff Moore, Crossing the Chasm. This one and the next one is a variation of that. And this one, I like this one a lot too, because it helps me to break it apart into the different pieces. So this first one is you're basically bringing up your target customer, right? And then when you interject who, then that's where you're going to go back to your pains and gains. That's why it's great to have a lot of pains and gains listed down, because you can mix and match from there. So the product name, then just whatever your product is, and then should probably say is a product category. But when you say product category, think about, like, do you have a SaaS product? Do you have an API product? Do you have, you could even be generic and say, order management system or point of sale system, right? That's just to help to contextualize it. And then that's where you put in your statement of benefit. That's definitely where your gain will come in. The variant on this is after you say that sentence, is that you put in a market differentiator by saying, unlike your primary competitor, our product, and then primary statement of differentiation. So going over these two, I have another example on the worksheet that you can obviously see. But my first example would be for horse owners who are looking for new horse trails. Acme Trail Finder is a social app that helps connect horse people with horse places. So when you build upon that, and this last one, and this is where this comes in, you add a differentiator. So, and this is mine a little bit terrible, but the only real reason that I understand the difference between Lyft and Uber, for people that need to get places, Lyft is a ride-sharing app that helps connect riders with drivers. Unlike Uber, the company is not heaped in controversy. So I kind of did a little bit cheeky, but to kind of show you that you can play around with these. I would never, ever recommend that you just have one value proposition statement, that you should have more than one. You'll probably end up with one or two cores, and then maybe the front, before and after your statement. That's where you're going to add some more context, right? So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and give you guys a few minutes, maybe about 3, to try writing on your own. Now, remember when we started out, we had your target audience, so don't forget about them. We selected a level and we generated some content. So go ahead and use those. We'll give you 3 minutes on the clock, and then we'll start sharing them.
We have one now.
Oh, see,
So,
I knew that to be overachievers.
Yep. So people can try to concentrate while I read, but for the sedan owner that occasionally needs to transport items that do not fit in the vehicle trunk, our new trunk lock allows them to lock the position of the trunk lid without the use of bungee cords or twine, thus saving them hundreds of dollars per year in rental costs or in the inconvenience of driving a pickup truck around when all you need is a few, when only needed a few times a year.
I like that. And we could either we help sedan owners transport large things. Play around with this a little bit too, because I like that you're bringing in not only the pain, but a little bit more context to the pain. That's a really great one to kind of understand how these are flexible and will build out. Awesome.
So the example given previously in the chat is that this would be for somebody who wants to move a lawnmower and can't put it in the trunk of their car because the handle sticks out. So they have a secure system called Trunk Lock that enables people to position a trunk lid so they can carry a lawnmower with a handle sticking out the back.
I like that. I'm actually probably going to look at that because that's always a pinch point. You don't need a truck for everything.
Yep.
Right.
And no bungee cords or twine.
But bungee cords and twine are so classy.
But the other thing is, whenever I buy anything that doesn't fit in the car, it always seems to be raining outside.
Isn't that the truth, right?
So fussing with twine in the rain is just undesirable.
Yes. Awesome.
So I need one of these things. Put the URL in the chat and we'll all buy one.
I'm the same thing, right?
You convinced me. This is a good value.
Awesome. All right. Any other examples? Anybody else willing to brave and send us through your examples?
Well, here we have one. For families who eat at home, the Leftover Manager is a product that helps families save money because the average family throws away $4,000 worth of food a year.
Nice.
So I'll think about mine. For frustrated music teachers during the pandemic, Song Along allows teachers and students to create virtual choirs, teaching students music performance and making parents proud.
I like that. See? All right. Highly encourage you, go out, play with these templates, make 1 million of them, and enjoy your conversations.
Okay, everyone. Thanks so much for your fun participation here, and enjoy the rest, and I'll see you in the breakout room. Thanks so much, Maggie, for the wonderful presentation. I'll clap on behalf of the audience.
Thank you.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye.